Hey, F Block. Here to answer your questions about the first three chapters of book three. I realize not everybody has posted yet. I'm totally fine with that. We got some good questions. I'm going to answer the ones that have been posted and hope that it covers most of the questions that you have. If I see other questions that are relevant and need to be addressed, I'll definitely type out a response so that everybody can see them. But here we go. So we'll start with Brooke. Rinaldi is like Frederick Henry's older brother. For those of you that either have older siblings or younger siblings, maybe you're familiar with this dynamic. I have a little sister who is almost 8 years younger than me. I spent her entire childhood either being overly affectionate, like just smothering her with hugs and kisses and attention to the point where she just like was like, get away from me, or mercilessly teasing her. Uh, I think that's what Rinaldi does. He plays the older brother role for Frederick Henry here. So when he comes in and he's giving him a hard time and he's calling him baby, it's all in good fun, right? It's very brotherly. So Frederick Henry relieved Gino of his post to answer your other question. Let me just pull up the questions on my phone so that I have them. Otherwise, I'm going to be kind of winging it here. Um, so yeah, so basically what happens is Frederick Henry arrives at his old headquarters where he used to, lay his head at night. And the major tells him, this is what you're going to be doing. Hey, this guy named Gino is another ambulance manager. You're going to be taking his place while Gino goes somewhere else. They're all getting ready to go on the move, right? That this battlefield is sort of ever changing geographically speaking. So he tells him, all right, go replace Gino, bring these men down, and I'll have orders for you. So in chapter 27, they get back to the headquarters. Rinaldi's already gone because, again, they've all left for the new battlefield. And there's a note on his ambulance that says, hey, meet us at Pordenone. Don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. So that's what's going on at the end. You've got Frederick Henry, who's managing Amo, Bonello, and Piani are the three other ambulance guys. They're the other ambulance drivers. Okay. So everybody had already left. That's why they're the only people there, if that makes a little more sense. Okay. Anna, I've got your question next. What was the significance of the conversation between Gino and Henry regarding fighting on the mountains and plateaus? Great question. So they talk about the conditions, and it gives us a sense of what the war is like for these men, the setting, and how they're handling it. It also shows us Frederick Henry's like strategic intelligence, that he understands the dynamics of how a war works on land. And he sees that fighting on a mountain is problematic by nature, by this sheer logistical dynamics of coming down a mountain and fighting. And he's thinking about the ways that all of these, that fighting on a mountain could just be just a huge disaster. So that's really kind of what's going on there, is that we're like flies on the wall. Like, he's going to meet this guy Gino, who he doesn't really know. What are they going to talk? They're going to talk shop. They're going to talk war. So I think that's what they're going on there. Candace, you asked about Catherine, right? We don't see Catherine in all of book three, right? She's not going to appear except in Frederick Henry's mind. She's still at the hospital in Milan, right? That's where he left her. That's where she's posted. That's where her job is. It's 19 teens, right? There's no cell phones. There's no telephones. And they're in the middle of a war. So Catherine's maybe going to send a letter, and, who's going to be the person that's delivering it? It could take weeks. It's just not a reality for the position that either of them are in. So they're not going to be talking with each other. You'll see that their paths will converge again a little bit later on. But just hopefully that answers your question. It also hasn't been that long, right? He just got there and they immediately kind of put him to work. We note that Rinaldi looks at his knee and is like, you really shouldn't be going back. You're not ready. There's not full articulation. So what he means by that, let me pretend this is my knee, right? So he's bending Frederick Henry's knee, and Frederick Henry's he's going like this, and Frederick Henry can't move it beyond like this point. And Rinaldi's like, you shouldn't be going back, but they don't really have a choice. And Frederick Henry's certainly not going to be one to complain about that stuff. Brady, same priest, right? Again, going back to when I answered Book's question and when we were kind of talking about what's going on here, it's that he has returned to where he came from and he is back to, active duty. And so, obviously the priest is a good friend. He's somebody that Frederick Henry's one of the only people that really shows the priest any respect. He was one of the few men that went to see him, Rinaldi, and then the priest after he got injured. So they do have a special connection, a friendship, a loyalty there. So yes, that is the same priest. Maddie, yes, he loves Catherine. You'll see his attitude towards her. Or towards war changes because of his feelings for her. We'll see this in his stream of consciousness in chapter 29. When we start reading the second part of chapter 3, you'll see that those feelings are real. And this is a little bit of a problem for him moving into this next stage of battle, in addition to the fact that this war seems sort of futile. It seems messy, disorganized. And that it should be over. So not only are most of the men feeling that way, but add on, now that he has this new purpose, that you're going to see that the decisions he makes are based on different things now, and they involve Catherine, and that's how we know that the love is real. Breezy. St. Paul. I actually had to look this up, and so I thank you for that because I would have never looked into it. But it is pretty interesting. It certainly continues to color Rinaldi as this sort of anti-religion, godless person, and also somebody who's trying to really get at the priest. We know that Rinaldi also lives for pleasure. So I looked into St. Paul. He apparently, and don't quote me on this because this is not my area of knowledge, but St. Paul was an Italian apostle, and he's considered very important in the development of Christianity, like second to Jesus Christ. So he's a big deal. But he was also somebody who was in charge or responsible for creating sort of the stricter rules of Christianity that involve things like sex. So he says, oh, cheers to St. Paul, basically for, not taking into account the needs of men, the pleasures of men. So he's, again, at once sort of insulting St. Paul, insulting Christianity, and trying to get at the priest there. Hopefully, so those are the questions I've got so far. Everybody's turning in a question anyway, and if I think there are any that really hadn't been answered, I will definitely make it a point to answer them so that you guys are in a good position to move on through book 3, which is going to be your assignment for week 2. You are going to see a real pivot, a change in the direction of the plot, a big one. Right? Mary, this is called A Farewell to Arms. Like, at some point, right, Frederick Henry's going to make a decision, a big one. And we're going to see them really get into some serious situations with the retreat. We'll look at sort of the horrors of war is really going to become apparent in these next chapters. So stay tuned. Be well, guys, and I will see you soon.